Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. I want you to imagine waking up tomorrow, sitting down at your desk, and suddenly realizing something terrifying. What if your internal monologue, your deepest, most personal desires, and even just your passing thoughts didn't actually belong to you? We're dropping immediately into the paranoid, neon-drenched reality of a hacker, where this chilling opening line is not just some cool metaphor, it's a literal truth. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring the absolutely fascinating teaser trailer script for a project called Anatognet. It's this brilliant layout that balances pulsing rhythmic beats, striking cyberpunk imagery, and really intense psychological action. We're going to deconstruct this manifesto and map out a hidden digital war for human consciousness. Think gritty, neon goth anime aesthetics meeting Mr. Robot, where the government literally possesses weaponized AI, a rogue hacker is trying to break free, and the very concept of free will, well, it's exposed as nothing more than biological code.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to the BrainNet.
So, to really understand this matrix, we first need to establish our protagonist, Philly. She's sitting at a glowing Wacom screen in this cramped North Philadelphia apartment. She's got these sharp cornrows on one side of her head, deep, neon purple hair on the other, and she makes this horrifying realization. A heavy electronic hum fills the room, and suddenly, her monitors just violently glitch out. She is flooded by chaotic chat windows, K-pop music videos looping at triple speed, and it's all overlaid with flickering deepfakes. And text cascades down the screen simply asking, "Who are you?" over and over again. It's a total, sudden psychological ambush.
And this targeted barrage commands her to comply, but it goes way beyond just digital harassment. As Philly frantically taps a sequence on her mechanical keyboard to fight back, the room actually physically rebels against her. The entire apartment floor vibrates, tilts, and dips violently at a sharp angle. All her gear slides across the desk. She literally has to grip the edges of her workstation and lock her core to fight gravity as the system physically punishes her resistance.
The grim, calculating logic behind this whole operation is known as the metal Moloch mentality. The trailer outlines this terrifying lore where the government intentionally keeps the world brutal, impoverished, and broken. And you might be wondering why? Well, because trauma lowers human cognitive defenses. Once your mind is broken, this cognitive virus hijacks your ego. The system literally needs you to breed more biological processors, basically more human slaves, to feed an ever-expanding global neural grid. In this world, you're just a node. Moving on to Section 2, A Century of Mind War.
If we look at the classified timeline outlined in the historical archives of the trailer, we see this incredibly chilling evolution of weaponized technology. Back in the 1940s during World War II, early prototypes were actually used to intercept commands by mapping neural thermal anomalies. Then by the 1960s in Vietnam, they were deploying primitive sonic weapons, projecting literal ghost voices into enemy tunnel networks. Fast forward to the 2000s in the Middle East with a geographic neural mold, and then the 2010s in Venezuela, where tech ops and server rooms were siphoning billions in cryptocurrency. It is a clinical, deadpan progression from crude thermal tracking to modern digital subjugation.
All right, Section 3, the Moloch compliance virus.
Bringing this into the present day, we hear the distorted voice of a CIA handler explaining exactly how they trap a citizen. They coded human behavior decades ago, right? So, step 1, the target is drawn into a barrage of AI bots and K-pop deepfakes demanding their attention. Step 2, they manipulate primal biological desires, latching right on to the human instinct to replicate. And step 3, if the target resists or applies logic, the system instantly whiplashes into rigid, terrifying compliance demands, just forcing the mind into submission.
Which brings us to Section 4, the antinatalist glitch.
This brings up the ultimate question, doesn't it? How do you actually escape a net that is hardwired directly into your human instinct? Well, Phyllis discovers a unique biological superpower that completely breaks the system. You see, the Moloch Net runs on your instinct to replicate. It wants your children. But because Phyllis firmly refuses to feed the machine, she strips the net of all its leverage. Without that psychological anchor of reproduction to exploit, the virus just has absolutely nothing to latch onto.
But, as you can probably guess, this immunity puts a massive target on her back. Standing on her balcony, Philly looks over the Philadelphia skyline and visibly sees these ghostly, glowing digital frequencies tracing from buildings straight into the heads of the citizens walking below. She turns to her webcam and begins recording a manifesto to expose the whole truth. But just as she uploads it, a dark sedan screeches onto her street. Heavily armed operators in full tactical gear bust out and violently kick in her door. The digital threat has just become devastatingly physical.
Let's look at Section 5, Inside the Tempt Shangri-La.
So Philly escapes the raid, and she steps through a heavy, reinforced steel bulkhead door, revealing this breathtaking underground hacker commune known as Tempt. And it looks like a high-end Tokyo arcade mixed with a sovereign military command center. The culture inside is brilliantly technical, but it's also deeply bizarre. Philly sees a corridor lined with identical bright red-headed twins moving in perfect synchronization. The hackers casually use internet slang, addressing the room as Every Pony, welcoming her as Little Pino, and operating under a massive neon sign flashing a clown face with a giant red X slashed right through it. Amidst all this surreal chaos, the crowd of hackers splits in half, and they all stand at attention. Walking down the center is the leader. He's a tall, brown-skinned man wearing a tailored, immaculate black tech suit, and his face is completely hidden behind a pristine, glossy white anonymous mask. When he speaks, his voice is deep and echoing, and he treats Phyllis not just as a new recruit, but as a holy anomaly who unlocked the actual secret to starving the mine net. But as Philly is drawn deeper into the fold, she discovers Tempt's true and honestly chilling agenda. The masked leader tells her that they have absolutely no intention of fighting back or freeing the brainwashed masses still hooked into the grid overhead. No way! Their goal is total isolation and exodus. They want to flee the system entirely to form a hidden, encrypted micronation. At this realization, the trailer hits its absolute climax. The audio drops into a reverb silence and then suddenly explodes into a relentless heavy synthwave track. The visual pacing perfectly matches that pounding rhythm. We get these sudden splashes of vibrant purple paint splatter art bursting across the frame, totally mimicking a manga coming to life. It's this high-octane collision of raw cyberpunk action and striking neon goth animation.
This brilliant sequence highlights the ultimate narrative takeaway of the whole script. Phillies is caught in a terrifying dichotomy. On one side, you have the Moloch Matrix, a life bound to a brutal, state-sponsored compliance grid that literally hijacks your thoughts. And on the other side, you have the Tempt Commune, an escape into an isolated, deeply surreal, and honestly kind of cult-like hacker ecosystem. She is disconnected from the government's machine, sure, but she is now navigating an entirely new, alien reality.
Which leaves us here, staring at the core philosophical terror of the Anatognet script. It really forces us to question the fabric of our own free will. If the voice in your head tells you to conform, to chase what everyone else is chasing, to comply with a system that just keeps you exhausted, is that really your ego talking? Or are you just executing the invisible code of the Moloch Net? Think about that the next time you hear a voice in your head telling you what you want. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. And remember, keep questioning the code.